That man, went around those guys and took a look at me. My bowel was just broke. I actually realized that I'm dead right now if this man want me to be dead. This man can end my life right here. But the guys were so big and so strong. When they picked me up, it was almost like, you ever had a container of milk in the refrigerator and you thought it was more milk in the container than it actually was?
Okay.
So you put more energy to it?
Yeah.
That's how they picked me up. When they picked me up at the back of the car, because a trunk can only rise but so high. They bumped my head. And when they bumped my head, when I looked down, I only had my underwears on. So I don't know how long they had me, and I'm glad they didn't do nothing to me. And you know what these big guys did? If it's not baseball, you don't get 3 strikes. And I was blessed because at one time when I was back in Chicago, I did something very stupid. I was on the street, and I'm not going to name what street this is because somebody might remember it. And me and my friends were shooting CeeLo on the street, shooting dice on the street. And an elderly man about my age now came by, and he's very well-dressed, fine man, because back in the days in Chicago, the men wore suits and ties. Chicago has always been a city of being clean, very sharp, crisp. That's the men I grew up watching. And so I was about to shoot the dice and he touched my elbow and I didn't know who he was. And I turned around and I pulled a gun on him and I said, "What are you doing?" I should have knew I made a mistake, but I was young and stupid. And I thought I had punked him. And he just looked at us and when I had the gun on him, he looked at us and said, "Gentlemen, have a good day," and walked away. I should have known then that I made a big mistake. But when you're young, you're stupid. Oh man, we punked him. You see that? So we riding around all day long. I'm tell the truth, smoking weed, hanging out, doing all sorts of stuff. And this was maybe about 11 o'clock in the morning, right before the afternoon. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm on my way going home. I woke up in the back of a car in the trunk, brother, and that taught me respect. Bro, when they opened that trunk, I don't know how long they had me. They snatched me like a bag of groceries. Wow. I don't remember being kidnapped. None of that. When they opened up the car, when they opened up the trunk, all I saw was guys with black ski masks, and they were big, heavy-set guys. And he leaned over, the same old man who I disrespected earlier, leaned over and said, "Remember me?" And I was trembling. I was convulsing. I was so scared. Actually, I'm not going to say the words, but let's just say my bowels broke.
Just guns pointing at you.
Man, my bowels broke. It wasn't even the fact that the guns pointed, but the fact of, how did I get here? See, Chicago is a city where something can happen to you. You think you can't, but it can. You can get kidnapped off the street, bro. You won't get shot or stabbed. You just get snatched up like a bag of groceries.
How did you survive that scenario?
Well, when I tell you one thing, he let me live.
Yeah.
It wasn't up to me at that choice. It was up to him at that choice. I made my choice and I pulled a weapon. That was my choice. That's why I tell people, you have consequences behind your actions. So if you go do something disrespectful to someone or something wrong to someone, don't be surprised when it come back. Like I can't. I'll be honest, I can't cry for a gangbanger because you know what you signed up for. You know what you're involved in. You chose to get down. And it's all right if you're afraid. Say you're afraid. I'd rather for a man to tell me he's afraid and we not engaged than for him to tell me he with it and then we get into it and he not with it. I respect his honesty.
How old was he then?
16 going on, because I went in the military. That's why he put me in. That's why I got in.
But then that happened after the military.
Yeah, well, after the military, I came out of the military I did combat in the military. I was in the Gulf War.
Okay.
The Persian Gulf War.
Yeah.
I was the first Iranian hostage crisis.
Yeah.
And which totally surprised me because, like I said, I think some of us are trained for certain things. I can take a guy right now that everybody look down on and don't want, and I guarantee he's the greatest there is. I guarantee you. The only thing a lot of guys never had is love. They never had anybody to appreciate them. Everybody want to use them. Everybody call a gangster when they got problems, but don't nobody call a gangster when they get paid, when they get money. Don't nobody say they're going to feed them. I heard people who I ain't going to say no names, they go and talk to the gangbangers and all that, but what they doing for them? What you doing for them besides talking to them? They need jobs. They need economics. They need training. Where's the training at? And my name is Shabazz, so I was a member of the Nation of Islam, so I know better. That changed my life a whole lot. That's what totally changed, like the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, not watered down.
How old was you when you was religious?
Well, I'd had the teachings before, but like most people, as a child, you may grew up Christian, but your mother and father was Christian, but you didn't live by it because it wasn't in your heart to live by it. It was just something. What are you? Are we Christian? Are we Muslim? What that mean if you're not living it? You out in the street with the homies. You ain't living like no Muslim.
Yeah. How long was you in the military?
I was in the military for just 4 years.
Oh, okay.
4 years and 2 tours of combat. That was enough for me.
Oh, okay.
But I came in with the intention of staying 30 years.
Okay.
And I didn't even know that I was gonna get stuck dead in the middle of combat when I got there.
What did you do after your military career?
After my military career, believe honest with you, I came home and I got in trouble.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had PTSD.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea. So allegedly, they say I was involved in robbing armored cars and banks. That's what they say. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do that though.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
You guys make me laugh, man.
Yeah. Shit.
That man, went around those guys and took a look at me. My bowel was just broke. I actually realized I'm dead right now if this man want me to be dead. This man can end my life right here. But the guys were so big and so strong. When they picked me up, it was almost like, you ever had a container of milk in the refrigerator and you thought it was more milk in the container than it actually was?
Okay.
So you put more energy to it?
Yeah.
That's how they picked me up. When they picked me up at the back of the car, because a trunk can only rise but so high, they bumped my head. And when they bumped my head, when I looked down, I only had my underwears on. So I don't know how long they had me, and I'm glad they didn't do nothing to me. And you know what these big guys did?